I'm your host, Stanley McPherson, and it's March 26, 2013, Tuesday. We're here to talk about what matters at the round table. We're here to discuss some things. I have a guest with me. He is a member of the Workers Center, like I am. Also, Milton Webb is here with me, my co-worker. We are going to talk about what has happened about living wage, about what is on the table, what are they doing, what is this progress, are they making progress? We are going to find that out tonight. I will let you know that we have been going to the meetings, and we also is not taking no for an answer. So you will hear these things tonight. Right now, a guest with me, Eric Bird, a member of the Workers Center also, and he's taking a cry. He's taking up a cry just like we all are for someone that has been wrongly convicted. We are trying to do good. And so this is what is going on. And this is what matters at the round table. So I will right now let him share what he has discovered, things that we don't know, and maybe we can get involved. Thank you very much.
You talked about involvement, Brother Stanley, and I would agree. Mm-hmm. This is something that all Tompkins County residents can get directly involved in. The website involved here is called freedon.org. That's free, F-R-E-E hyphen, don, D-O-N.org. And I'm here to talk to you tonight about former Governor Don Siegelman of Alabama, who was wrongly convicted and basically railroaded by Karl Rove and other DOJ officials in the Bush administration. And I'm here to tell you how he was wronged and why you and all of us should get involved and go to this website, freedon.org, free-don.org, and sign a petition asking President Barack Obama to pardon Governor Don Siegelman. This goes way back. I'm going to make some connections for you. A lot of people have not heard of Governor Don Siegelman, but I'd say a lot of people watching this show have heard of Jack Abramoff, who was famous for influence peddling during the Bush administration. One of Jack Abramoff's clients was Indian casinos in Mississippi, the Mississippi Choctaws. And Governor Don Siegelman was elected in 98, took office in January of 99. And one of the first things Governor Siegelman did was to try to put in place a lottery system in Alabama to help the state Alabama college system, help poorer people get funding to go to college, grants, that sort of thing. But this came to the attention of Jack Abramoff because if there was a lottery in the state right next to the state, Mississippi, where his clients lived and ran their multi-million-dollar casinos, then this would cut into the profits of his clients. So Jack Abramoff called up his friend Karl Rove and said, "Help me out here, Karl." Now, Karl had his own reasons because Don Siegelman was a Democrat, first Democrat that had been elected for decades in Alabama. Alabama was a strongly red state. Governor Don Siegelman was popular, effective. He won by a landslide. And Karl Rove didn't like that. Karl Rove wanted to make sure Alabama didn't go blue. That was his other motivation. So he called up his friend Ralph Reed, who at that time was the director of the Christian Coalition, and said, "Help me out here, Ralph." And Ralph went to his foot soldiers and said, "You know, gambling's a sin. Now, notwithstanding, these same people were hopping this next state over and going to the gambling casinos over at the Mississippi Choctaws. But he got his foot soldiers to get up in arms about how gambling was a sin and try to stop this lottery thing from happening that Don Siegelman was trying to build. And let me go over some of the details of his service as governor. He was defeated, finally, in his bid for re-election in 2002 by a Republican, Bob Riley, and the circumstances were very suspicious. Riley won by the narrowest margin in Alabama history, only 3,000 votes. And immediately thereafter, Republican election officials in Baldwin County claimed that the voting machines had malfunctioned, and they began a recount, but conveniently, they began this recount after Democratic election observers had left the counting site, of course making verification of the recount impossible and suspicious. Alabama's Attorney General, Republican Bill Pryor, nonetheless affirmed the recounted totals, basically handing the election to Republican Bob Riley. And as a response, the Alabama state legislature changed state election law to provide for automatic supervised recounts in close races. But of course, the Republicans involved did not call for a more proper recount, but instead accepted the improper results. Riley's campaign manager was notorious Republican hatchet man Bill Canary, a personal friend of Karl Rove. And shortly after the defeat, Bush-appointed DOJ officials launched an investigation of Siegelman. Now, it's important to know here, they waited until Siegelman was not in office and no longer had the impressive powers of a state governor to defend himself with. They launched an investigation of Siegelman just as he was coming out of office. The act was part of a widespread and later much publicized campaign. You may have heard of the selective prosecutions by Republican DOJ officials only of Democrats. All of this was under the shadowy supervision of Karl Rove, who was Bush's chief political strategist and a key player in several other suspicious and underhanded scandals that came out of the Bush White House, notably the outing of CIA operative Valerie Plame in retaliation against her husband, Joe Wilson, who published a New York Times op-ed condemning the invasion of Iraq and saying that there never were any weapons of mass destruction. Okay, the investigation led to federal indictments by the same DOJ officials in May of 2004, but on the very next day, the judge threw out huge portions of the prosecution's evidence and disallowed new charges based on that evidence, and prosecutors abruptly dropped all charges. But according to Jill Simpson, a Republican and an attorney of Rainsville, Alabama, Karl Rove personally called her in 2002 and told him he wanted to neutralize, in quotes, Don Siegelman, and had assigned the job to do that to Bill Canary. And in sworn testimony by Jill Simpson in front of the House Judiciary Committee in June of 2007, she said she had personally witnessed, during a conference call with Bill Canary, his statement that his girls and Karl Rove would oversee and pursue the DOJ attack on Don Siegelman, and that the girls in question were Canary's wife, Laura Canary, and Alice Martin, both federal DOJ attorneys appointed by Bush to serve in different federal districts in Alabama. Simpson also says Rove personally instructed her to try to catch Siegelman cheating on his wife. Again, note that Ms. Simpson is a Republican. You can't look at her and say, well, she's a Democrat, so she would lie because she's fighting against Republicans. No, this was one of their own people that's basically ratting them out. So it is difficult to make a credible accusation against her false testimony on the basis of her political affiliations. And shortly after making this statement, her house burned to the ground and her car was stolen and deliberately wrecked. They, of course, never caught the arson and the thief. One of the prosecutors in question, Laura Canary, when the connections with her husband and Karl Rove began to draw attention, she publicly recused herself. But in documents released by a DOJ staffer in November of 2008, emails written by Ms. Canary long after her recusal contained detailed legal advice to subordinates assigned to continue the prosecution of Siegelman, showing that her recusal was false and fraudulent. However, investigators could find no actual documentation of her recusal, making it nothing but a verbal recusal with no force, which leaves no grounds for prosecution of Lurie Canary for fraud or submission of false statements. Shortly after Jill Simpson's statement in June of 2007, the House Judiciary Committee ordered Bush-appointed U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales to provide documents about a large array of these selective prosecutions, of which the Don Siegelman case was just one, by U.S. attorneys all over the country, including documents concerning the Siegelman case. Gonzales ignored the order and resigned August 28th without ever submitting the documents. Karl Rove was subpoenaed to testify before the House Judiciary Committee, as is by now pretty famous, but he refused to appear, prompting many congressmen to speak of the possibility of a congressional contempt citation for Karl Rove. In Simpson's testimony before the House Judiciary Committee in October, she stated that Governor Bob Riley had personally, this is the Bob Riley who was elected in the fraudulent election in 2002, had personally named the judge to be assigned to Siegelman's case. Told Simpson that this judge would hang Don Siegelman. As noted, that did not happen immediately, but after the dismissal of the case in 2004, federal prosecutors, under the advisement of Lurie Canary, after her apparent fraudulent recusal, attempted indictments on over 100 different charges that were subsequently thrown out by 3 different judges. And finally, they were able to make 7 of them stick by June of 2006. Siegelman was sentenced early in 2007, just before the congressional investigation, served 9 months of a 7-year sentence before an appellate court ordered him released in March of 2008 while he appealed the convictions. The appeal was based largely on the rampant judicial misconduct, some of which I've already hinted at this point, multiple conflicts of interest by Judge Mark Fuller, the Bush appointee who originally convicted Siegelman. The appellate court was presided over by another Bush appointee, 11th Circuit Judge Bill Pryor, the very same Bill Pryor who had participated in the election fraud of 2002 as Alabama's Attorney General. Now, Barack Obama won the 2008 election and had barely taken office when this same appellate court upheld 5 of the 7 convictions in March of 2009. Siegelman then attempted to appeal to the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court, which was advised by 113 former attorneys general and top constitutional law scholars to hear the case. Even conservative pundit George Whittle called on the Supreme Court to pay attention to the Siegelman ruling. The highest court, however, ignored the case, refusing to comment, and sent it back to the same Judge Mark Fuller, who had promised, according to sworn testimony by Jill Simpson, to hang Don Siegelman. Given that the entire Department of Justice and federal court system were still loaded at that time with Bush appointees, it was unlikely Obama could have done anything to prevent this conspiracy from carrying out their political assassination of Siegelman's career, especially because at that point Senate Republicans began systematically blocking all of Obama's judicial and DOJ appointees. So it was still Bush people carrying out this attack. Finally, after 4 solid years of Senate Republican obstruction of all Obama's attempts to replace high-level federal judges, the Bush-appointed District Court Judge Mark Fuller, the same one I've spoken of before, sentenced Siegelman in August 2012 to begin his nearly 6-year sentence. After 10 months were dropped because of the 2 overturned convictions. Siegelman is now in a federal prison in Louisiana waiting for the results of a nationwide grassroots movement which you and I can join at freedon.org to try to persuade President Obama to pardon him. There's a petition there. Please go to it and check it out. Now, all of this machination by Republicans in the Bush DOJ begs a very simple question. If the case against Don Siegelman were so clear-cut, why all the machinations? Why all the shenanigans? Why all the intimidation of witnesses? Any competent legal authority to whom this case were referred, having discerned that strong evidence existed of Siegelman's guilt, if there was such strong evidence, they would have taken triple care to make sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's crossed, to make sure that if their man was guilty, especially a man with the political resources of a governor of Alabama, would not go free on a technicality because of incompetence or malfeasance or conflict of interest. But exactly the opposite occurred. The whole case was full, from stem to stern, with conflicts of interest by Republican DOJ appointees. Even if I knew nothing about this case, I would be convinced by all the evidence of conspiracy. Like I say, a competent legal authority, if they had ironclad evidence of Siegelman's guilt, they would not have tolerated all these shenanigans. They would have made sure to, anyone that had conflicts of interest would recuse themselves, and they'd say, no, we're going to prosecute this guy on the merits alone. That's what convinces me that there are no merits to this case.
So basically, they was out to get him.
That's what it was. There were two reasons they were out to get him. Karl Rove didn't want Alabama to turn into a blue state. Governor Don Siegelman was the first Democrat to serve in decades. He was popular. He was effective. Karl Rove didn't like that. And his friend Jack Abramoff didn't want Don Siegelman's state lottery system to cut into the profits of his clients, the Mississippi Choctaws. Now, as you know, Karl Rove he basically blew off congressional subpoenas to appear. Another case that Karl Rove was involved in was the outing of Valerie Plame. And Scooter Libby he was convicted, but he was pardoned I guess technically what happened was that his sentence was commuted by George Bush. Jack Abramoff is in prison right now. And so is Don Siegelman. Of the two of those, Abramoff needs to be in jail. Don Siegelman needs to be out. This petition is basically the last line of defense for an innocent man. We need President Obama to consider this and pardon Don Siegelman. It matters. Justice matters. This is the round table where we talk about what matters, and this is what matters. So I'm asking Tompkins County residents, go to freedon.org. That's free.don.org. Thanks.
Okay. That's some things that we didn't know, and we're going to visit the site and check things out and see what's more, because there's more information on the site, he says, and we're going to look and see what we can do, see how we can help. It's a cry, and we have more cries in the public. We are going to try to do good, and by doing good, we have an ear to hear, and we're hearing the people's cry. I want you to go to this number, PEGASYS number, go to 272-3835. I want you to dial, call us up. Maybe you have a solution. Maybe you have some input. Go to PEGASYS right now, 272-3835. We like to hear from you. Right now we're going to switch and go to the living wage campaign that we definitely is involved with. We're picking up this cry because this involves all of us, and it's dealing with low wages. It's dealing with not making it. It's dealing with rent and car notes and children, babies, mouths to feed. This is what we're dealing with. The company is making it, and we're not making it, but we're making them monies, and we're making them millionaires. We're not making it. Okay, we showing up. We are professionals. We are experts at what we do. So we are telling you to get aboard this train. It was a meeting Monday. I went to the meeting to see what they're talking about, what they're going to do, you know, and it was people at the meeting that was asking for money for their project, for their program. Quite naturally, they was getting the money, okay? I was there personally myself. See that, you know, it didn't take long for them to get the money for the project they wanted, the project that they need. But I spoke and told them, you know, hey, we're crying for living wages, and it's not just for us, but it's for you, the people, for society, Tompkins County. It's for people that's working that need a living wage. And so we telling them, listen, you know, we've been talking, you know, we on TV, on radio, you know, people know about it, people hear about it, but we need some action now, you know. And so we telling them, yeah, you've been talking, but now we need some action. And so this is the cry, and we impressing on them that, you know, we first base, you know, we going around the bases, you know, first base, second base, third base. I told them we need to go home. You know, we need to go home. And so we're seeing that in these meetings that everybody that bring their proposal and ask for money, whether it's $100,000 or whether it's $50,000, they're getting it. Okay, I haven't seen no one that haven't got it yet. Okay, that's why I show up at these meetings, so I can come back and tell you what's going on, you know. And you know what? I was the only one there from the public. That is a shame. But I made sure I showed up, okay, so that I can be a voice for you, you know. And I was expecting other people to be there, but I made sure I got there. You know, I couldn't make the other meeting at 10 o'clock, but I can make the 4 o'clock, okay? Because after I'm coming from work, I'm going straight there. Because this is what matters at the round table. And it might not matter to some people, but guess what? It might not matter to them rich folks, because they probably trying to stop it. But it matters to you and me, because we at the low totem pole. We need the money, okay? We the ones struggling. We the one going through this here, okay? They ain't going through this, but we are. And so that's why I'm telling you, get aboard the train. Get aboard. You might not get off the same stop I get off, but guess what? Get aboard, okay? Get on the train. We need many people on this train as we can, because we're going somewhere. We're moving. Milton, do you have anything to say?
We need to, excuse me, we really need to get on this train, like Stanley said, because it's going to happen one way or the other. So you need to come on and join with us. You need to call us. Let us know how you feel, what you're looking at, the things that you don't have, the things that you do have. But the things that you need is the living wage. Because without that living wage, you cannot provide. You cannot live. You cannot do the things that you need to do. So therefore, if you jump on this train with us and ride, come on with this living wage, we can mess around there and we can work this together. So when it comes right down to it, we need you, just like you need us. We're doing this for everybody, everyone, man, woman, child. It ain't just for us. It ain't just for where we work or where we go. We talking for everyone. Don't leave us hanging, because we're not going to leave you hanging. So jump on this train. Come on with us. Help us out. Sign some petitions. Come on down to some of these meetings. If you need to know where they are, give us a call. You can call Stanley. You can call down here. You can see what we're doing. Come and check it out. The more people we get, the better it is for everyone. Like I said, it's not just us. We're fighting for the little guy, not the big guy, because the big guy don't need no help.
That's right.
The little guy needs the help. We are the little guys. And there's a lot of us out there. Okay? There's a lot of us out there with families. There's a lot of us out there with children who can't provide for themselves as far as the mother and the father doing things for them. When you go to the store and your child say, "Oh, Daddy, I want that toy. Can I have that?" And you got to look at your child and hang your head and say, "We don't have enough money for that, son, but if you give me a couple of weeks, okay, well, I might be able to get that for you." Don't let your son feel left out in a lot of things that he should have and a lot of things that he should do, whether it's your son or your daughter. There's a lot of people out there that really need to jump off in this with us. Everybody's talking about, "Oh, you're doing this, you're doing that." Now, all of the people that was doing this before us, I commend you and I thank you, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to sit here and talk to you like this. Okay? I commend all of y'all. But the public, you need to come out and help us out. You need to jump out here and get on this train. You need to come on and ride with us. It ain't nothing but a party. It's about to get that money. So come on with it. Come with us and help us out. We're doing this in order for everyone to have something. Everyone to be able to make that car payment. Get that car note. Get that insurance. Come on with it now.
Get their kids to college.
Get their kids to college. Get their kids in
Have some
school.
hope for the future.
Hey, without this living wage, there will be no hope for the future, because everybody's going to be in poverty. Don't think that we ain't, because we really are. So come on, get with it. My name is Milton Webb, and I'm down here with my boy Stanley, and we getting this living wage thing kicked off, because we're not going to stop. This ain't no game. It ain't no joke. We ain't going to stop. We're going to be there every time they have a meeting at the legislature, and we're going to be there talking about it. So come on, get with us. Thank you.
Okay. Our time, has been fulfilled tonight. And so we are here to say that we won't stop. We're going to keep coming. We're going to keep crying. And we want you to go to that website and check it out.
Get with it.
And keep your ears open and get on the train. And we're here to let you know that we're here to do good. Thank you for my guests. Thank you for listening. And see you next time.